Bill Fazio. He was a mailman for 38 years. He caddied for me in most of the tournaments around here. And I would take him to these events, and I took him to Newport, and he comes to me. I'm playing Steve Scott, 38th hole of the day. It's, 7 o'clock Saturday night, the night before the final, and we're in sudden death. And so I played 19 holes in the morning to beat Tim Jackson, and now I'm on the 19th hole again against Steve Scott, and they're playing the 10th hole in the overtime. So it's par 5, and I hit it in the greenside bunker. Steve hits it short right of the green. He hits it about 12 feet past the hole, and I've got about 7 feet. And he misses, so I've got a 7-footer to win, to go to the final, and to go to the Masters, which I wasn't really thinking about. But Bill was, apparently. So I made the putt, and my caddy, Bill, comes over, gives me a big hug. I love Bill. And he said, "You're going to the Masters." And I said, "No, Bill, we're going to the Masters."
So I'm here at Waynesboro Country Club with golf legend Buddy Marucci. Thanks so much for taking the time to join the Golfers Journal podcast. You know your way around this place a little bit.
Yeah, well, I've been here for a long time. I'm not currently a member, but I did when I came back from University of Maryland, moved back to Philadelphia. I joined Waynesboro at the end of 75, beginning of 76, and spent 25 or 30 years here. So
yeah, your name's all over the championship board.
Well,
so
I'm not sure about that, but it was a new club, so it wasn't quite as difficult back then to win things as it is now.
Well, we certainly remember you being here and your playing career. Definitely want to dig in on the BMW Championship at Caves Valley. I know I think you're the chairman of the championship, which is a wonderful honor, and I know you're doing exciting things down there, getting ready for it. Before we get there, though, I want to talk about your career. Your playing career is it's incredibly accomplished in amateur golf. I was reading up on, is it 59 USGA championships? Or
I think that's right about there. I'm trying to get to that next one, but it's become increasingly more difficult. Yeah, I want to get to 60, but I'm right there at about 59. Yeah.
That's extraordinary. Won the Senior Am, 2 Philly Ams, played in 2 Walker Cups, captained 2 Walker Cups, played your golf in college at Maryland. When you look back at all those accomplishments, what are the moments that stand out to you as real highlights?
Well, I think it's interesting. I really think that the blend of playing golf and working has really been the thing that I've enjoyed the most. I've often said to people that I played my best golf when I was working the hardest. Yeah. Now, some people would say you never really worked hard, so how could that be possible? And maybe you make it look easy, but that's really what I enjoyed the most. I really enjoyed being a businessman and playing amateur golf. So what that translated into for me was that I never felt that much pressure because I always had the other side of my life that I really enjoyed doing. Yeah. So I think it made it a little easier for me because I could, I had an identity away from golf, which I was proud of and I enjoyed. And so working really wasn't just a job for me. It was kind of a way of life. And then the golf, where I had another identity, kind of came more naturally and with a little more ease. So I think, golf has been my way to get away and relax. And so I think that helps me when I was competing.
You've been pretty darn good at it. What do you think was, when you think about your golf, what made you such a good player? Aside from natural talent, obviously you were, with the level that you played at, you were born to play golf, but was there something in the way that you played that you said, this is where I can separate myself? Well,
there are 2 reasons I think I was able to have some success. One is Philadelphia. We had a tremendous amount of great amateur players in Philadelphia, and I learned a lot from watching them. Not just Jay Sigel or Gordon Brewer or some of the others, or Dave Brookerson, some of my friends, but But there was a pretty vast majority of players that played really well, many of whom you probably never heard of, but they were still very good players. But I think the reason I was able to add to that part of it was I love the practice, because that's really where I found my happy space. So because I loved to practice, I got better. And, and the competition for me was sometimes gut-wrenching, but never really that intense. And so maybe I might have won more if I had a different way of looking at it. But I was pretty content, competing and practicing. But I really think, and I still practice, even though I don't compete very much anymore, if at all. I love to practice. So I think, and I did a lot of it right here at Waynesboro. My God, I practiced it a lot.
I heard they used to, is this true that they would close, like at the end of the day, when people were done, you would practice on a golf hole, or they would close a hole and you would practice? Is that something?
Well, I used to practice on what is now what was the old 13th hole. I practiced there every night till dark. I would go out there with it. And we used to have a shag bag back then. And I had 105 balls. I know that exactly, because if I lost one, I had to replace it. And I had this old McGregor shag bag, which had all these Titleists in it, and I would count them, and I'd hit them to that green, and then I'd go in the bunker, and then it would get dark, and I would come up and have dinner. But and I would do that after work, and so I would get here, 5:30 or 5:45, and I would go till dark. So the summer was a great time.
That does sound like a pretty good time, buddy, for sure. 1995.
Yep.
The Am at Newport.
Yep.
Tiger's going for his 6th consecutive USGA Championship. It's a big year. It's the 100th anniversary of the US Am, where they had the first one. What were your feelings like going into that week about the tournament? Obviously, you end up in the final against Tiger. Right. You knock off Steve Scott along the way, who would face Tiger later in the finals. Right. What was that week like for you?
Well, I think to sum the week up, I think it was really a culmination of a lot of previous experiences, right? You play your whole life. I'm 43 years old, and finally you find yourself in the finals of the U.S. Amateur. Again, many of my friends had been successful, and and I always looked up to them and thought maybe someday I'd get in that position. I wasn't really worried about Tiger necessarily. I was just trying to play one match at a time. I had some really close matches. I played a lot of golf. I think I played more. I don't know this for a fact now, but I think I played more golf than anybody's ever played that week. I think I played, 165 holes or some crazy number, because I had 3 extra hole matches. And, I had beaten the NCAA champ. I beat one of my dear friends, Tim Jackson, in the morning match before I played Steve Scott in the afternoon on Saturday. So that was in the quarterfinals. Tim was a Walker Cup player. He had been picked to play the Walker Cup that year. Far better player than I, but I'd beaten him. So, going up there, I didn't have a whole lot of expectations. My game got a little better during the week, and I found myself there in the finals. It's hard to believe it's 30 years ago, but yeah, it's crazy.
30 years ago.
Yeah, it was a great day. Tiger was a fantastic opponent. He was gracious. He was cordial. Obviously he hit the ball a lot farther than I did, so we saw each other on the tees and the greens. The fairways, we kind of went our separate ways. Although he was using iron off a lot of the tees, so we weren't that far apart. But there was a huge crowd, and they walk with the players, and it was kind of crazy. But he was fantastic, and we both played really well. He just played a little bit better in the last 5 or 6 holes than I did.
Yeah, I heard that week a friend of mine was with you at Caves Valley, and you told him that you might have lost some weight that week.
I did. Well, you guys put that in your article. I lost 16 pounds, which is true. I did. And it was, it was hard to keep food enough food in.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you just keep going and going. So,
Yeah. And then you're playing in the Masters. You're in the finals of the USAM.
yeah, so that was kind of fun. I have a great story about that. This young man from Philadelphia, Bill Fazio, I don't know if you know of Bill. He's a caddy at Gulf Mills. He was a mailman for 38 years. He caddied for me in most of the tournaments around here. And I would take him to these events, and I took him to Newport, and he comes to me. I'm playing Steve Scott, 38th hole of the day. It's, 7 o'clock Saturday night, the night before the final, and we're in sudden death. And so I played 19 holes in the morning to beat Tim Jackson, and now I'm on the 19th hole again against Steve Scott, and they're playing the 10th hole in the overtime. So it's par 5, and I hit it in the greenside bunker. Steve hits it short right of the green. He hits it about 12 feet past the hole, and I've got about 7 feet. And he misses, so I've got a 7-footer to win, to go to the final, and to go to the Masters, which I wasn't really thinking about. But Bill was, apparently. So I made the putt, and my caddy, Bill, comes over, he gives me a big hug. I love Bill. And he said, "You're going to the Masters." And I said, "No, Bill, we're going to the Masters." So that was one of the great moments of the week, because he had been caddying for me for a long time, through thick and thin. And then we did, of course, and we had a great time. And it was a great experience.
Amazing. Yeah, playing a final with Tiger. Is it, people talk about the Tiger intimidation factor.
Right.
Did you feel that, or is it just a matter of, he's a really, really good golfer?
Well, I've said this publicly. I thought that people overstated the fact that he was intimidating. He's an intimidating looking man, because he looks like Michael Jordan. I mean, he's like this amazing athlete. So when you see him, you're kind of, oh my goodness, look at this. But I thought he won because he was just better than everybody else. And that in itself could be intimidating, but he didn't do anything when he got on the tee to make you feel like he was trying to be intimidating until you watched him hit it. I mean, he was just better. And I think that's really the story.
You go to the Masters, and there's a story about Arnold Palmer pulling you aside when you're headed out there, which is pretty charming.
Well, growing up in Pennsylvania, Arnold is obviously the man. Well, anywhere, I guess Arnold was the man, but certainly in Pennsylvania. And I had some friends at Augusta that had asked me, and the chairman had come to me and asked me if I would mind playing with the other Pennsylvania amateur champion in the field. Now, I knew that Arnold had won the Pennsylvania amateur, and I knew that I had won the Pennsylvania amateur, and we're the only 2 Pennsylvania amateurs in the field. And I said, "Well, Mr. Chairman, if you're asking me if I would like to play with Arnold Palmer tomorrow," I said, "if I played here 100 times, I'd want to play with him every time." So Warren Stevens was the chairman. He was a fantastic man. And he said to me, "Well, we'll take that under consideration." And so the pairings came out, or the tee times came out the next day, and I was paired with Arnold, and it was quite a great moment. But the moment you're speaking about, I got to the first tee, and of course it was forgetting all the rigmarole about hitting balls and then all the people and getting to the first tee. And Arnold's on the putting green, and I was on the putting green, and I'm a 44-year-old man at the time, so there's a little shock and all, but not really to the extent that maybe a 18-year-old would have, but at least I didn't think so. So I said, "I'm going to that first tee first. I'm not walking over that tee with Arnold." So I walk over the first tee, and I'm standing there, and as an adult, I knew a few of the members that were there on the tee, and Walter Driver and a few others that were going to be responsible for getting us going, Toby Wilt. And I was talking to them, and then here comes Arnold, and of course, here come everybody. And so I turned around and looked down the first fairway, and there had to be 20,000 people on the first fairway. I couldn't believe it. Never seen that many people. Now, I've played in front of people, and they all kind of blur when you get that many, but I mean, they were 6 or 7 deep, because they didn't know how many times Arnold was going to play again. I mean, he was at the end, getting to the end of his career. And so I I'm standing on the side of the tee, and Arnold walks through the crowd. He comes on the tee, and he looks at me, and he gives me this little thing and says, "Come on over here." So there we are. We walk into the middle of the tee, all these people around, and he puts his arms right on my shoulder, and he goes nose to nose, and he says, "Buddy, this is going to be one of the greatest days of your life. If there's anything I could do for you, you just let me know." That was Arnold. And that was kind of the way we started the day. So 4 hours and 4 minutes. It was a great experience.
That's, I'm sure it was a really great day.
Yeah, it was a great day. I'm not sure I ever understood the magnitude of Arnold Palmer until I walked inside the ropes with him at Augusta.
Yeah.
I mean, he was masterful. I mean, you didn't ask me this, but my impression was, I'm not sure, and I really thought about it a lot in business. Not only in golf, but in business. I don't think I've ever seen a more professional man at his trade than I witnessed that day, watching the way he played the game and the way he was with the people and the way in which the scorecard, I mean, everything was immaculate.
Yeah.
His equipment, his approach, his effort. He shot 73 that day. He played beautifully. It was the last round that he played that was really positive at Augusta. He knocked it on 13 and 15. He just played beautifully. He was 67 or 68 years old at the time. So it was something.
And you took that from that. I mean, does that inspire you not just as a golfer, but as a business professional as well?
I mean, I looked at a man in his craft and just said, this is the way you're supposed to do it. This is, if you're going to do it, this is the way you're going to do it. He didn't take anything for granted. I mean, everything was just so.
You're right.
Yeah, it was kind of fun.
I want to touch on your Walker Cups. 2 captaincies, a really great playing record, but won 2 Walker Cups as captain. More pressure or divide between being a player versus being the captain. How is that?
Well, there's no question in my mind that, when you play, you're used to playing.
Yeah.
You hit balls, you go through your routine, you've got an opponent, you go out play, you've been doing that your whole life. That's different. That's pretty, to me, routine. It's nerve-wracking because you're representing your country, don't get me wrong. It's fantastic. It was the greatest playing honor I've ever had. But being the captain is really hard. It's like being a parent to 10 children. And now I had two mid-amateurs in both I had one on each team. I had Trip Keeney on one, and then I had Nathan Smith on the other. So they weren't children, but still, it's parental. You can't hit a shot. You do everything you can, and then you get out of the way, but you got to watch every shot, and you live and die with everything they do. So it's hard. I wasn't nervous playing. I mean, I was emotional playing. There's a difference between being emotional and being nervous. I mean, I really was emotional playing, but I was nervous for those kids because you want them to succeed. Yeah. And I know it's not necessarily about winning or losing, but they don't necessarily know that, and so you feel for them. So it's great, though. It was fantastic.
2007, you have some pretty special kids on your team.
Yeah.
In that family: Dustin Johnson, Billy Horschel, Ricky Fowler, Webb Simpson, Chris Kirk, many, and among others. GB&I has Rory that year in
Reese
2007.
Davies, Danny Willett.
Yeah. So, man, the names on that team, and you're playing at Royal County Down.
Yeah, fantastic.
Which I just thought, I was like, if there's ever a home course advantage,
Yeah.
not that they're playing at Royal County Down all the time, the GB&I players, but that's a course you really need to know. So many blind shots, so many angles, all about placement. How did you get them ready for playing a golf course that is such a knowledge and experience-based place?
Yeah. Well, I think what I tried to do with them, especially that team, which was enormously talented, as you mentioned, is I said, look, I can't play the game the way you guys play the game. My experience over here is that you cannot win from the rough or the heather, okay? I don't care how you play it, but just get it in the fairway as best you can. You'll be fine if you do that. And I don't care whether you hit driver on every hole, and I don't care if you hit 400 off every hole. You know, I'm not going to tell you how to play the golf course. All I am going to say to you is, in my experience, you cannot win from the rough. And that's about all I said to him. And then we went out, and you know, those kids they're pretty smart. Mm-hmm. Even in 2007, they were pretty smart. And they figured it out. And it was a tremendous match. Coming down to the last hole, you know, on Sunday afternoon with Jonathan Moore, eagling the last hole to win, which was, you talk about nerve-wracking.
Awesome. And then 2009, you're at your home club.
Yeah, which had additional pressure.
Yeah, being in Merion.
Here in Merion, and we had a great team. They had a good team, nowhere near as, I didn't think their team was anywhere near as substantial as the one they had in 07, but it was still a good team, and, you know, anything can happen because they are young men, and you don't know. We had a good, as it turned out, we had a good team, and we won pretty handily, but, you know, Ricky played again. Can't say enough about Ricky Fowler. He's a good friend, but I've known him since he was 14. But, you know, when he could have turned easily before the second match, and I was still playing back then. It was, you know, 2008 when I won the senior amateur, and I was asked to be the captain again. So I was playing in all the events still. And he and I played a couple of times at the Porter Cup, and we played at the Southern once. But we played 2 or 3 times that year. And the summer was going on. I said to Ricky, I said, look, Ricky, you know, you don't have to hang around for us. He said, buddy, I told you that if you got the captaincy again, I'd wait. I said, Ricky, you don't have to do that for me. He said, I'll be there. If you pick me, I'll be there. I said, well, I like your chances. He was, you know, playing really well, and obviously had a great career. He was playing his best, actually, right then. And he did. And, you know, I couldn't thank him enough for playing twice.
Way to go, Ricky. That's a great story.
Oh, no, he was fantastic.
Phenomenal.
He was so loyal. Yeah. And he still is.
Yeah.
I mean, he is just, you know, his playing career is up and down a little bit as far as execution, but as a businessman and as a person, he's at the head of the class.
Head of the class.
Yeah.
Walker Cup this year, pretty exciting, going to Cypress Point. Do you follow? Will you go? How do you think that venue is going to play out for a Walker Cup?
You know, I just got back. Interestingly enough, the first match I ever attended was in 1981 at Cypress. I had qualified for the amateur at Olympic, and I went down to see it. I'd never been to one. Kind of was inspiring that weekend. Yeah, I was out there. I think they'll do well. Nathan will be a great captain. You know, it's going to be interesting. You know, it's a kind of a short and long golf course, so, you know, they'll have to manage some of the nuance of around that inner circle, you know, those first 6 or 7 holes. But I think it's going to be a great spectacle. It's going to be beautiful there. Hopefully the weather will cooperate. You know, they're not going to get any rain. They may get some marine layer. You know, they may get some. So they're going to have to be ready. Greens are tough. It's going to be fun. I think GB&I, you know, the one issue with GB&I has always been the way in which they negotiate the green surfaces. So if the greens get tough or faster, that can play in the Americans' hands.
Looking ahead to another big event, U.S. Open coming back to your home club of Merion in 2030, which is just around the corner. It seemed a long time away from when we had the last one.
Yeah, well, 13, it's hard to believe, you know, we're here, it's going to be, you know. But, well, we have the amateur next year, which I think is going to be fantastic, 26. But 30 is going to be, that's going to be great. 100th anniversary of Jones.
100th anniversary of Jones, yeah. That'll be, I mean, and last time the U.S. Open was there, all the talk was, the pros are going to tear it up, blah, blah, because of the shorter distances, et cetera. Yeah. And the finishing score was not low at all. I mean, it's hard to look into a crystal ball, but do you think that 2030, you know, are there any changes that have to be made? Do you think it will be a different
Well, I would hope. I've got a little bit of involvement on that. I would hope, when we restored the golf course in 2018 after the 13 Open, Gil came in and did a sympathetic restoration, which is what he calls it. We went up to Golf House. We went up to USGA, and three of us went up, and we showed the plans to Mike Davis and those that are involved in the decision-making about setting up the Open. And we said, look, here's what we're planning on doing. We really don't want to change it for the championship, all right? So if you don't like what you see, why don't you tell us now? And then we'll consider, doesn't mean we will, but we'll consider some of the things you're thinking about. And they loved what we had on the ground. So, I think we'll grow the rough and we'll get the greens firm and we'll let them play the golf course. Justin Rose shot +1. +1. There were 367s that week. That was the low score of the week.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing. We have 7,140 yards. We only played 68-40 the last 2 days in 13. We didn't need it. So we'll see. But I don't think we care whether they shoot 7 or 8 under or if they shoot 2 or 3 over. I don't think we care. I think the leaderboard's important. We'd love to have the best of the best come to the top because I think that says more about the golf course than what the score is.
Yeah.
But that's our interpretation. Doesn't have to be everybody else's. I was surprised. JJ shot 1 under, but the rest of the field was bunched up, par over. So, I think Oakmont. I played Oakmont the Monday before advance week. It was incredibly difficult. It was immaculate. The conditioning was magnificent.
Yeah.
So, I think it was a great Open. And I think the way he performed at the end was brilliant.
It really was. So 2030 will have 100 years Bobby Jones finishing the Grand Slam at Merion as an amateur.
Right.
You remained amateur.
Right.
You talked about your love of being a businessman and a golfer. How would you assess the state now of the lifelong amateur?
Yeah, it's a shame.
It's changed.
I'm not sure there is one.
Right.
Well, I'm not sure there is one the way I was able to do it. And the things that I was concerned about or had to be concerned about playing amateur golf, which revolved around money and expenses and reimbursements. And, now kids, now young men and women are getting paid in college to play golf. Well, that was unheard of. So I don't know that the amateur means, what's the word mean, right? For the love of the sport. Well, somebody's getting paid $1.5 million to go to some school. Is that for the love of the sport? Well, it could be. Both things could be true, right? But it's different. So certainly financially it's changed because, there were some choices you have to make back then as to how you're going to spend your money. And golf's not an inexpensive sport. So a lot of those things have gone away. Some of that's good. Certainly for bringing people that could never afford it into the game, I think it really is good. So for need-based people, I think it's great. But it's changed the way in which people look at the game. I still think what happens is that people will receive some of this money. They'll try to play. They're not all going to be successful. They'll come back to the game. They won't have some of they'll get golf balls, they'll get clubs, they'll get things that we were never able to get, legally because of the amateur status rules and things. But they'll still play for the love of the game because that part of their life they will have tried it, it'll be over. The time in the middle may be a little different. Yeah. And they may have not had the sacrifice may be a little bit different. Not in the time or the effort or the hours in the gym, but in some of the other exterior concerns that we had. trying to allocate resources. But I think, if you want to sell property and casualty insurance, or you want to be a successful investment advisor, or you want to sell automobiles, like I did for a while, owning those dealerships, I still think there's a great life to be had.
Well, golf needs the Buddy Maruccis and the Jay Seagulls, and Michael McDermott here in Philadelphia has had his success.
Mike's been great.
So long live the full-time amateur golfer.
Well, I think what's important is that, and this is something I have a little issue with the current tour, is that the real advocates for the game are the amateur golfers. And we're really the ones that promote the game, make the wheels go around, and that's why I really don't understand why the tour members really want to own or really run their own game. They have a lot of businessmen that'll make them successful, and I think it's better if they just go play golf. But that's just me. I'm not in the room, so I don't know what they face every day. But the real advocates for golf have been the amateur.
Couldn't agree more.
The amateur players.
Couldn't agree more. I think when we take, on whatever issue it is, the golf tends to take a top-down view, whether you're talking about technology or money or whatever, and looks at the tour, looks at the elite player, which is really the 0.05% of golfers.
Right.
So that's always interesting. So you play a lot of your golf at three pretty special clubs: Merion, Pine Valley, Seminole.
Right.
Just tell us a little bit about what makes each so special and unique. I mean, you are a member at other places too, but those three do stand out.
Yeah, I think that, Pine Valley changed my life when I got into Pine Valley in the end of 1981, beginning of 92. To be a member here, I was here at Waynesboro, and to Jack May rest in peace, paved the way for me to get exposed down there. And I played my first Crump Cup when I won the Philadelphia Amateur in '79, and I got to know Ernie Ransom a little bit through that. He was president of the Golf Association of Philadelphia when I won. And, being, coming from, I've always said, just a little kid from West Philadelphia, you end up down in Pine Valley and your whole world changes. So I have so much affection for Pine Valley, I can't even describe it. And then, I grew up on the 8th green, and Merion was my parents' house right across the street there on Golfier Road. I never knew I'd be a member in Merion. I mean, I never thought that would be possible. And, I got into Pine Valley, and then one thing led to another, and I became a member in Merion. So, I spend a lot of time trying to do everything I can to make sure that, both those places are, any help I can give to both those places, I try to do. Seminole was just a dream. I mean, it's, I spent about 8 months in Florida now, and to be able to go to Seminole, I can't even believe it. Every time I go in there, I can't even believe I'm a member there. I've been a member there for 35 years, so it's kind of crazy. But golf, the entree is just, the access and the entree in golf is just dramatic. How can you ever do the things that you're able to do without this game? I don't know where it'd be. So to describe them, I love Pine Valley. I think there's no experience like it. I've never been anywhere where people make you feel as comfortable, make your guests feel as comfortable. It's there's a informality about it without being informal that really makes it great. It's a comfort about it. Merion is just, I'm not sure I've ever been on a better routing than Merion. To weave through that neighborhood and then come up with those holes, short and long, the greens complexes. I don't know where there's anything ever better.
I agree.
I mean, it's just stunning. And there are a lot of great places that are built by a lot of amazing architects through time. And you just come back and you walk out there, and everyone that goes there just says, my God, It's just so fun because it's a nice walk and yet it's so challenging, which is kind of cool. It's a great combination, which the founders really wanted to have. And so they were brilliant. They got it done. Hugh Wilson was brilliant in that routing. Seminole, that's like going to Disney World every day. It's just so nice. I mean, you walk in and you just, it's just so, you're so happy to be there. You're on the ocean. It's pure golf, great people, 3 hours and 20 minutes, great caddies. I mean, it's, and the powers to be have kept it that way. And it's just really, really a fun experience. So,
a great day for sure.
Yeah.
There's a wild stat going around. Some people have seen it on social media about you in Pine Valley, buddy. I find this one of the wildest golf stats I've ever heard of any place and any person. Is it true that you've made eagle on every hole at Pine Valley but one?
Yeah, it is true. I haven't made one on the 14th hole. I've been there a long time. I played a lot of golf there in the old days. I actually had a house there. I lived there, so I've played a lot of golf. And I used to hit my irons pretty well, so I was. It is true. We never really talked about it much because Warner Shelley, who was the old gentleman who I met the first time I ever went to Pine Valley, and at that time he must have been 80 years old and came over from Scotland, and he was kind of the old gentleman that was revered. And he had a ringer board, and it was posted, and his ringer board was all the eagles he had made over his life. And so as far as I'm concerned, Warner Shelley still has the old ringer board. But, Brad Faxon put that on that podcast. And I called Fax. I said, Fax, come on. You know better than that. You remember Pine Valley. Warner's got the ringer. I don't have to have that ringer. But it is true. So we got one more to go. I don't think I'll ever get to 14.
Come on. We're pulling for you, buddy. That would be something. You know the crazy thing about Pine Valley, when I think about the holes, like actually probably the most impressive eagle to me is on the par 5 on the back. Is it 15?
Yeah.
Where I think that hole is so hard. You've probably eagled it multiple times. Have you hit the green there in 2?
No, Christ, no. I don't get anywhere near that green in 2. I tell you the interesting thing about Pine Valley, and I think if you ask McDermott or others who've played a lot, even Jay when he was alive, was, the ball moves a lot on the green. And when the ball moves a lot on the green on the slopes, you got an opportunity. And if you play a lot of rounds, one day or another, maybe one will slide in. And the one that to me was the most, I never thought it would happen was on 5. The par, when I hit a 3-wood. They were playing in the member guest with my son. It was 241. I'll never forget it. And I hit a 3-wood, and the hole was in the back right. And Bill Miller used to caddy for me, and he caddied for me for about 20 years or so. He's no longer there. And he said, "Buddy, that went in." I said, "Bill, there's no way that thing went in." I might have said something else, but it was like that. And Trey said, my son, who was obviously a lot younger, said, "Dad, that went in." I said, "No way that went in." And we got up there and it was in. I couldn't believe it. So the others are just, you make one every once in a while and they go in, but I've been there a long time. So
it's incredible stuff.
I'm going on 45 years here pretty soon.
Wow. We did a feature on the 5th hole in the Golfer's Journal, the 5th at Pine Valley, which we're very... story by DJ Pyhowski that we love, because that's the beast of all par 3s. So I want to talk about another of your clubs that you're not just a member of, but very involved in the championship they have coming up. So Caves Valley BMW Championship is coming there this year. You're the chairman of the championship. How's it going? How's the Caves had made some changes since the last time the tour was there. Right. You just had a call with them, before the podcast. So how are things looking down at Caves? We love Caves Valley. Our members were just there for an event and just rave reviews.
Yeah.
So how are things looking?
It's we're really excited about having the BMW there again. 21 was a tremendous success. You know, the economic impact for the town, you know, Baltimore, Washington, it was just great. And we did a little postscript after that and sat down and figured out what are we going to do to, number one, do we want this back again? Does BMW, does the Tour, does the Western Golf Association want to come back to the Middle Atlantic section? Sure. And after all the debriefs and everything else, the decision was made that yes. And then we said, okay, what can we do to make this better? You know, because you always say, what can you do to make it better? We didn't have anything specific in mind. We sat down with the Tour. We talked about the golf course. Steve Fader, our chairman, who's been phenomenal in this regard, said, okay, he had a few ideas about logistics and things like that. We met with the WGA, Western Golf. You know, how can we make it a little better for them? And then the BMW, which is, they write the check. So, you know, how do we make it better for you? And it was decided that we had some projects on the drawing board from an agronomy standpoint. The course at the time was now it's 32 years, going to be 32 years old. The old grasses were not performing exactly the way we thought they should. We talked to the Tour about what they had noticed during the championship. We had a lot of rain. The scores were low, but it wasn't really about the scoring as much as it was how was the golf course playing. And, you know, we had some issues that we thought we should address for the membership long term. Like all these clubs, you know, how do we, the next generation after that. So we had these projects on the drawing board that we were going to do over the next 4 or 5 years, and we decided to draw them all forward. And so we did a restoration. We regrassed the entire golf course. We redid every green complex. We put precision air in, heating, cooling, and air conditioning, which in the Middle Atlantic is significant because of the temperatures. And Tom Fazio came back. He's been fantastic. And we looked at a couple of the routing. One, you know, the first hole for the championship, the fifth hole for the champ. There's some things in that little airtight area on the first 5 or 6 holes for the crowds and for everything else that weren't really working the way we thought they should work long term. That was championship related. And then we had, okay, what can we do for the membership? And so we redesigned the first hole and the fifth hole and executed on that. And we did a magnificent project. Took 99 days, and we completed the entire project. And that was a year and a half ago, and we're full bore playing now, and it's turned out really well. So we're excited about that because I think we'll be able to handle much better the agronomic conditions when we get to August.
Yeah. So sub air is in every green? That's
precision air.
Precision air.
So we can heat and cool.
Wow. No small investment. There's
members have been fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, our members stepped up, and we've had great response from the membership. And so far, everyone has been really positive, including the Tour. They've been in a number of times, and as you've said, you've had people there, and it's been great.
It's a unique membership. It's a unique club. It's not like coming to a Waynesboro or even some of the other clubs we were talking about. You know, there's the overnight experience. There's the
right.
You know, explain for people that don't know Caves Valley, like how it's a different experience.
Yeah, it's a destination point. It's a national club. I mean, you know, I'm fortunate. I get to go to a lot of great places. I've never been anywhere where the membership supports the club like they do at Caves. And this membership's from everywhere. Mm-hmm. I mean, there are not that many local members. And of the 480 or 500 members, there are probably 75 that live within the Baltimore, Washington area. Wow. Maybe a little bit more than that. But it's fantastic. The amount of support, the experience is remarkable. You know, the accommodations are great. The food is spectacular. You do not go hungry at Caves. And I think now the golf course is at a par with the rest of the facility. So, it's just, you just have to go there and experience it to understand it. But it's really something.
Thanks to BMW, we had a golden ticket winner in issue 32 of the Golfers Journal, where someone in their Golfers Journal not only is going to the BMW Championship, but is going to play it on the Monday afterwards.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Very, very excited for them to have that experience. Of course, the BMW and its association with the Western Golf Association, big benefit to the Evans Scholarship. Yeah. There's so many great Evans stories out there about how it's changed people's lives. I mean, this is a scholarship that's not just 4 years of college. It's your room and board. It's, it's as good as it gets when it comes to caddy scholarships. Is there an Evans story, a favorite story of yours, or an impact on someone that?
Yesterday we had media day, and Kevin Flowers is one of the caddies of the year, a young man from Baltimore, inner city Baltimore, single parent, didn't even know what golf was mentored by an Evans scholar who introduced him to Baltimore Country Club. He never had even been on a golf course, didn't even know the game. And here he is, 4 or 5 years later, he's the Evans Scholar of the Year, and he's going to go to the University of Maryland, which is exciting for me because I went to Maryland, and we're going to open the Evans Scholar House on August 11th. Wow. We're going to cut the ribbon, and there'll be around 30 students this year. There'll be 40 total when it's all finished at the University of Maryland. Will attend on a full scholarship this September. So this year, the Evans will educate 1,200 scholars. Full tuition, board, books, everything, at major universities all over the United States. And it's just an amazing scholarship program.
It is. It's something else. It's so cool to have a house where all the scholars are living together.
Yeah, I think this is 18 or 19. But to have it in Maryland for me is really great. I can't wait to get down there and be part of the ribbon cutting. It's going to be great.
Oh, that's fantastic. Before we let you go, buddy, just want a couple bigger picture questions. When you think about the success that you've had in golf and in business, is there a common trait between those two that you'd say, all right, some characteristic of yours that has bridged the two and made you successful in both of those arenas?
Patience. My dad and I were really close, but he never really was he wasn't a hands-on mentoring kind of guy. But he had a CPA firm, which is where I started. And I walked into his office the first day after I got out of college. It was my first day coming to work. And I'd never seen this before. And over in the corner, as you walked in, if you turn around to walk out of the door, over the door he had a sign that said patience. And I never forgot that. And in golf, I think you obviously have to have patience. In a business, you have to have patience. You have to really be level. And I think demeanor has been the one thing that the game has taught me that's really helped me in business.
It's great advice.
Yeah. So I think that's probably the thing I carry the most.
Patience. When I can have a little patience on the golf course, it does seem to go better.
It helps. Yeah.
And in everything. Well, I can't thank you enough for your time. I'm so excited for the BMW Championship.
Yeah, we are really excited. And as you said, again, we had media day yesterday, and I closed the thing, the event, or my part of the event anyway, by basically saying, let's not lose sight of why we're here. We're here for the kids. And, the kids really, for BMW and for Caves, the tour gives so much money away. I don't think they sell it very well. I don't think other people know how much they do. I mean, they try to, but I don't think they really get the message across. But certainly for Caves and for BMW, this Evans and these kids are really important. This is a really big deal for the club.
It is a big deal. Oh, I do have to ask you as a former Walker Cup captain, since the Ryder Cup is coming up this year, and you're the captain, put yourself in Keegan Bradley's shoes.
Yeah.
You just won. You're number 7 in the world. Are you playing?
Yeah. Well,
it's going to be important to see how he plays at Caves. There'll be big decisions about the Ryder Cup being made at the BMW Championship.
Well, if I were he, and I'm not, because I've never been in that position, I would make the call now. I would say, if I make it, I'm going to play, and if I don't, and if I make it, I'm not going to play.
Yeah.
And I'd take the ambiguity out of it right now. I think it would help him, not for me to say that, but I mean, I think it would help him. But I also think it would set the tone for what are we doing? I think the job is bigger than that, bigger than playing. I do. I wouldn't have wanted to be a playing captain on the Walker Cup team. I just wouldn't have enjoyed it. So if I were he, I wouldn't play. But I've never been in that position, to do that. So I can't feel what he's feeling. And it may be the only time his last chance of ever being able to do it. So maybe he feels that playing is, to me, the greater honor is being the captain. But, that's just the way I look at it.
We shall see. We'll see what happens at the BMW Championship.
I have a feeling that if he makes it, he'll play.
Yeah.
I have that feeling. I could be wrong.
I would agree with you there. Well, we're very excited for what's happening in Caves. Thanks so much for taking the time, buddy. And
Thank
all
you.
the best to you and your golf.
Yeah. Well, my golf is fading, but the rest is pretty good. So anyway.
That 60th championship.
Yeah.
There's still opportunity.
Yeah. Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening, everyone. And if you enjoyed this episode, we strongly encourage you to become a member of the Golfer's Journal, or if you already are, to share it with your friends. As a reader-supported publication, we couldn't do it without you. We also couldn't do it without the help of our partners, and they are Titleist, Scotty Cameron, FootJoy, Holderness & Bourne, Omega, Charles Schwab, and BMW. We'll see you next time on the Golfer's Journal podcast.